You ready? I'd like to call this meeting to order. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none, adoption of agenda. Moved by Councillor Hanley, seconded by Councillor Neal, that Council adopt the agenda for the meeting July 6, 2021. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Adoption of the minutes. Council meeting minutes of June 15th, 2021. Moved by Councillor Sentence, seconded by Councillor Kenny, that council meeting minutes of June 15th, 2021 be hereby adopted. Any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Mayor's remarks. On Thursday, June 24th, Niagara's mayors and regional chair issued a joint statement to recognize the Saskatchewan residential school victims and lowered flags to half-mast across the region. Since then, a third discovery, another 182 remains in unmarked graves at the site of the old St. Eugene's Mission Residential School in Cranbrook, BC, bringing the total so far to over 1,100. I ask that we now just take a moment of silence, please. And I'll ask that out to the community to please take this opportunity to learn more about the history of our Indigenous peoples. Education and understanding are important steps in reconciliation. Take a moment out of respect and compassion to reflect on what has transpired and how together we can move forward in support of truth and reconciliation. The First Nations Peace Monument, located at DQ House Heritage Park, is worth visiting for a moment of reflection. On Thursday, June 17th, I, along with Jonathan LaPera, June Wolfrith, and Cliff Penn from Port Robinson, were invited to present to the Federal Standing Committee on Transport, Infrastructure, and Communities. This committee, chaired by Niagara Centre MP Vance Badaway, is conducting a study on railway safety and the effects of railway operations on neighboring properties. We look forward to positive recommendations and results coming out of this national study. On Thursday, June 24th, I brought greetings on behalf of Council and the City of Thorold to Venture Niagara's virtual annual general meeting. The Welland Mills Heritage Designated Building, 1846, that Venture Niagara has called home for almost 13 years, is centrally located in our downtown core. Venture Niagara's economic development work, business advisory services, and financing, while always important, are even more so during the COVID-19 pandemic. The City of Thorold is extremely happy with the partnership agreement utilizing Venture Niagara's expertise to provide our tourism services under the leadership of Susan Moran and Frank Rupik. On June 24th, I, along with Councillor Neal and Economic Development Manager Marco Marino, attended the Niagara Board of Trade and Commerce virtual Zoom meeting featuring Dr. Youssef Hajamad, CEO and President of Norgen Biotech Corporation. This was a very informative session covering the history of this growing company and expansion plans which are currently under construction. A great news story for the City of Thorold and the entire Niagara region. On June 24th, I also attended the Brock University Board of Trustees virtual farewell to President Dr. Gervin Fearon, whose last day with the university was June 30th. He has been named as the new president of George Brown College in Toronto, effective August. Vaccine rollout information continues to be updated, eligibility requirements expanded, and new clinic dates added as vaccine supplies become known. This information is available on the Niagara Region website under COVID-19 vaccination clinics. All necessary links are there, including the provincial booking link. We will also be posting information and updates as well on the city website and Facebook page. As vaccine rollout continues at the mass vaccination clinics, designated pharmacies, and healthcare providers, we are moving to a better place, especially as more people receive their second vaccine dose with the accelerated second dose appointment scheduling. Continue to follow the public health safety measures, support one another, our frontline workers, those less fortunate or living alone, and more than ever, let's step up for our local businesses, who are the backbone of our community. By doing this, we will move through stage 2 of the provincial reopening plan onto stage 3 and back to a resemblance of a normal lifestyle. Recent funding announcements related to the City of Thorold. Under joint federal and provincial funding through the Investing in Canada plan for municipal infrastructure projects through the COVID-19 resilience stream of the Canada Infrastructure Program, we are receiving $336,000 in federal funding and $84,000 in provincial funding for a total of $420,000. Under the Provincial Municipal Modernization Program third-party review stream, we will be receiving provincial funding of upwards to $75,000 towards the City of Thorold modernization and digitization of cemetery services review. Another also exciting news, the Ontario Paper Thorold Foundation will be contributing $50,000 towards the pavilion being installed at the Battle of Beaver Dams Park project. 2021 marks 25 years for the Ontario Paper Thorold Foundation and its role as an independent foundation in Niagara. It has contributed close to $4 million to the Niagara region, donating to local organizations and focusing on 4 program areas with an emphasis on capital projects, bricks and mortar. The 4 program areas include health and wellness, education, social services, and the environment. On behalf of council, staff, and the residents of the City of Thorold, we thank you. The City of Thorold, in partnership with the Creative Bug, will be offering art workshops for children and youth this summer at various park locations throughout the city. They begin this Thursday, July 8th, and run through Monday, August 23rd. For a complete listing, visit www.thorold.ca/programs. That's www.thorold.ca/programs to register and join the fun. This information is also available on the city Facebook page. And there's other opportunities that are coming up, including exercise programs, so please visit the website. And there's a lot of activities coming up this summer for the community. And that's the end of my mayor's report. Okay, and we're on now to presentations. Up, we have Desiree Swantz, Public Relations Specialist for the CAA Niagara. And is she on? And I'll turn the floor over to Desiree. Go ahead. Welcome.
Hi there, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. I'm Desiree. I'm the Public Relations Specialist for CAA Niagara. I'm joining today's call to talk about our road safety lawn sign initiative. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here because I have a very short PowerPoint. Okay. Can everyone see my PowerPoint?
No, not yet.
No? Okay. Can you see it now?
No. Well, I think we're getting there. There it is. We got it.
Perfect. Okay. Okay. So the reason I came on this call today was to talk about our lawn sign initiative. So for those who don't know, CAA Niagara is an advocate for road safety, and it has been since its inception. Distracted driving and speeding has been an issue on our residential streets in Niagara. And so we've been looking for ways to combat this issue. And one of them is to introduce a lawn sign campaign. So we've been reaching out to the municipalities of Niagara in an effort to involve them in this campaign where we distribute lawn signs with the municipal logos present on these signs to present as a united front across the Niagara region against these dangerous driving issues. So pictured on the slide here, you'll see an older lawn sign that we distributed in previous years. This was provided by one of our sister clubs, CAA South Central. And we've distributed this sign to our members through our branches across Niagara. And they did quite well, but we are looking to expand it further by designing our own sign and distributing it to not only our members at CAA, but also to non-members. So all residents across Niagara. So we've currently been in the works of designing a sign, and you'll see it pictured here on the slide. Note that this is not the most up-to-date version, but we're looking to get this sign printed later this summer and include the municipal logos, as I mentioned. Currently, we have several municipalities already on board for this campaign. So we have Lincoln, Waynfleet, Port Colborne, St. Catharines, and Niagara Falls. So by participating in this campaign, municipalities will have those logos featured, but they'll also receive signs to distribute at their respective town halls if they so wish. We'll be distributing these signs at our 5 branches across the Niagara region, as well as at upcoming events throughout the summer where appropriate. So these signs are meant to be free to residents of Niagara and available while supplies last, and limited to 1 per household. It should be noted that these signs will also be complying with bylaws in each township. So when we distribute these signs, we'll be including a 1 or 2 page installation guide document that outlines each municipality's respective bylaws, so that the signs are assembled properly and displayed properly on each person's lawn. We'll also have information available online about this. And I'm not going to get too in depth about this, but we do have a few promotional tactics to come with this campaign. So our hope is to get the signs sent off to a printer by July 19th. And then once we have the signs in hand, we'll be distributing a press release to local media announcing the signs and their availability to the public. We'll also have a dedicated web page on our website, which will include information about the bylaws. We'll follow this with social media posts to our respective channels, inclusion in our e-blast, which goes to our 140,000 members across Niagara, blog content, and as I mentioned previously, event presence. If there is opportunity for participating municipalities to also distribute signs at their city events, that's also certainly welcomed. And then just to give a brief timeline, so as I mentioned, we're hoping to get the signs sent to a printer by July 19th and receive them back within 2 weeks. And then we'll send out a press release by the beginning of August and distribute the signs to the public from there. Obviously, this is a rough timeline and dates could be moved up depending on when we receive these signs. But August 9th would be the very latest that we would start distribution as to get them out in the public while the weather is still warm. And that's all I had to say about it, but I will welcome questions now.
Thank you, Desiree. I'll open the floor to questions. Can I get the gallery view? Okay. Councillor DeRose, go ahead.
For you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, I had some technical difficulties. Thank you, Desiree. Really appreciate what you guys, your initiative, and I've been trying to get something like this in Thorold. I was just wondering if you're able to attend our active transportation meeting, because I know there are some committee members that had some questions, and nothing real detrimental, just some concerns that they wanted to share with you. And it's on the 14th. If you're able to make it, we would appreciate, look at your schedule and you can get back to us about it. But we'd love to have you speak also at that meeting, and there might be some different questions that might come your way.
Certainly. I also should mention, sorry, I forgot to mention this in the presentation, but there's no cost to the municipalities for this as well. It is completely covered by CAA Niagara because we were looking to do this kind of initiative anyways. So the only commitment on behalf of the municipalities would be providing your logo for the signs, and then if you so wish, distributing them at respective town halls and any events.
So, Desiree, can you contact the clerk's office and she can let you know the date and time for the meeting of active transportation, and if you could attend?
Certainly.
That would be much appreciated. I had Councillor Decker up. I think you had your hand up, did you not?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Desiree, thank you for your presentation. I just was curious, have you had like a call for these signs by residents in the areas and stuff? I'm just curious because I've noticed signs similar to that now that I'm working out in Port Colborne, and they have quite a few of these slow down signs as well. So just wondering, is this like a sort of a community share thing, or like have you had like residents asking for these types of signs?
Yes, most definitely. We've gotten quite a bit of interest from our members. If you've ever seen the old CAA signs out in the community, a lot of our members have those. But we wanted to do this specific initiative to present as a united front, as I said, with the municipalities. Some of the municipalities have also come out with their own sign initiatives. I believe Niagara Falls and Welland have their own signs, but these initiatives are quite costly, and it is nice to work together with the municipalities to have one sign across the region so people recognize them when they're out and about around the region, and it's not different signs for every township, and that's kind of what motivated this. But yes, we do have a lot of interest from our members, and that's why we wanted to offer this to them as well as non-members.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Councillor Hanley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, great presentation. I do support it. I just wanted to, if I could go back to what Councillor DeRose stated with the active transportation. Can I comment, Mr. Mayor? Can I wait? Can I ask a question of staff? So I know that a resident reached out to us that wanted to come to tonight's meeting, and he was, from what I got, basically denied the opportunity to make a presentation to the council. He emailed me this a while ago, and I'm wanting to know if we could have resolved some of the issues. My concern is now she's going to go to the active transportation committee, and I think we could have resolved some of those issues tonight with a member or a person that had interest in that wanting to come forward tonight to council and ask questions and make some comments, and he was denied that opportunity. If I could quote, his actual thing was, without getting final confirmation, then being recommended to deal with staff rather than attend by Zoom, Some might categorize it as being denied. Hence my letter to council. We all got that council letter today.
Councillor Hanley,
What
I'll let
concerns me
the
that-
I'll let the clerk answer that, and
Why a resident?
Councillor
was
Hanley, I'll let the
denied
clerk
access
answer
to
the
come to
question.
council to speak? There's no reason.
okay, I'll
Okay,
let the
thank you.
clerk answer the question.
Through the mayor to members of council, so the individual who requested to speak at council tonight was never denied. He was provided with a number of opportunities to ask questions. So he had actually never responded to me in order to have further discussion with regards to tonight's meeting.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate it. I'm not gonna get in the debate, but I just did receive an email at 6:14 PM tonight. Just letting council know that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Desiree. Thank you for your presentation. Actually, it was really just a comment, not a question, but I did notice signs like this actually near my home. And it does catch my attention. And I was actually, it's funny that you're here because they just popped up about last week. And I thought, what a simple way, and it does work. I noticed it. It made me look at my speedometer, and I thought it was awesome because on our street, it's kind of a thoroughway, and our house is like right in the middle of two curbs. So people usually speed, and it is quite scary for anybody to cross the street sometimes there, right? But I think they do work, and so I'm definitely in support of our city partaking in that. I think it's great, and anything that helps and could stop an accident from happening from any residents is wonderful. So thanks for your presentation.
Councillor Neal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Desiree. Whereabouts do you get the signs, or how do we receive them?
Certainly. So we're going to have them printed locally and then brought to our office in Thorold. So because our head office in Thorold, certainly I can set up having them brought to your town hall since we're so close.
Okay, and I just, a comment that I was just in Trenton for the weekend, and the signs are all over the place down in that particular community also. It's a great program, and we're all right behind it, and congratulations.
Councillor Sentence.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, great presentation, and I just want to put my support behind it too. They do work. They make you look and think, and I'm fully behind it as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. I do have a question for staff. I know we have a sign bylaw. Does allowing this program to go forward conflict with our sign bylaw?
Sorry, was that a question for me?
No, that would be for staff. Paul, I don't know if you can answer it or whether, because Jason's not here this evening, so.
Yeah, good evening. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Jason's not here. He's away on vacation. This was looked at by staff, though, and there is no conflict with the sign bylaw. What the bylaw requires is that there only be one permitted per property. They have to be located no closer than 1 meter to the property line. And again, no more than one sign per property unless the property is greater than 30 meters in frontage. So then you can have another sign after that 30 meters. And that's it in terms of the bylaw.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor DeRose.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, just to add on to what Councillor Decker asked earlier. I've gotten requests for these for over a year, and I ended up, because we didn't have anything in place, I ended up buying some at the dollar store and giving them to some residents. They're not as nice as the ones we're going to get from CAA. But also, Desiree, is there any way, so I did get them costed with Jeff Holman, and I were discussing it, and I get them costed, and they were pretty inexpensive from a Thorold business. Are you able to divert any of the signage to Thorold business? Just, is that possible? I know it might be out of your domain, but can you check into that for us? Because I don't know who you're using, but it would be great to have a Thorold business get that business.
What was the name of the Thorold business? It was
Impact Promotions.
Well, there's more than one business in Thorold that.
Yeah, you're right, Mr. Mayor. I apologize. Yes, that was the one I got a cost from. I'm sorry. You're right. There are more than one. Yes.
No worries at all. And actually, we are just in the final stages of collecting quotes from local printing businesses. So certainly I can reach out to Impact Business to collect a quote for printing the signs.
Or even print 3, which I left out. I apologize. Thank you. Thank you, Desiree.
Okay, any further questions? Go ahead, Councillor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Based on the emails we received from an individual today, I'd like to know if we can refer this to the TATAC to have a look at. We put people on that committee. They should have input in this, I believe. That's just my feeling. So I'd like to refer it to that committee, and hopefully they can get together and come up with some input and a recommendation from their standpoint.
And my understanding is that's what's happening. It's going to their meeting on the 4th, is it the 15th? Okay, and then it'll come back to the next.
Mr. Mayor.
What's the date?
14th.
So
14th, next Wednesday.
And then it'll come back here next council meeting. Councillor Longo, are you okay with that?
Well, I'm just not sure if the timing's okay for the presenter.
Is that okay? We might be a day or two off the schedule, but it will come back to our next council meeting on the 20th, okay?
Okay, fine, fair enough, thank you.
Because we'd like to go through the subcommittee and then bring it back to council, okay? That's a good suggestion, Councillor Longo. Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you, Desiree, for your presentation, and we look forward. Oh, wait, I got one more, Councillor Kenny. Sorry.
I'd like to hear from the presenter. Is this us delaying the vote tonight? Is it in any way going to impact the residents of Thorold getting these signs at the time that you were talking about in your presentation?
No, in the timeline I provided was quite generous, actually. I think I gave 2 weeks from the time we send it to the printer to the time we receive the signs, which is quite unprecedented. I don't think it's going to take that long. So certainly if you're able to get back to me by the week of the 19th, so the 20th, 21st, and I'm able to send it to the printer at that time with the Thorold logo, that is certainly fine.
That will be our intent, and so it'll come to council on the 20th, and then you'll have an answer that evening, okay?
Wonderful.
Okay, any further questions? Seeing none, again, thank you for the presentation, and we look forward to working with you in the future. And we have a great relationship with the CAA and their office in Thorold, so that's fantastic. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for having me.
Okay, we move on to motions for council support. Motion to receive and file minutes or adopt recommendations of council committees, boards, minutes to review for information purposes. Moved by Councillor Wilson, seconded by Councillor Longo, that council receive and file the minutes of the committees of council local boards as presented. Special Events Advisory Committee, Darlene Ryan, Port Robinson Community Center, Active Transportation Advisory Committee, Thorold Public Library Board, Parks, Trails, and Recreation Committee, and Ad Hoc Downtown Parking Committee. Is there anybody that wants to speak on any of those before we go to vote? Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to ask, in regards to the Special Events Committee, they had 2 minutes to be received on file. The one from March 11th, I'm just curious that it wasn't, we didn't see this before, but I just had a couple questions that I need clarification. Does this committee work outside of council's directive? Are they able to make decisions without council's support? Is my first question to staff. I don't know if it's Curtis that would be able to answer that, or.
Good evening. Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. No, so sort of they're a committee of council and work under the direction of staff, or sorry, under council.
I'm sorry, Curtis, I couldn't hear you very well. Sorry.
Sorry, yeah. So they're a committee of council, and all the minutes get approved by council. That's the process, the same as any other committee.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Curtis. Can I also get an explanation of the relationship? Is the blues on the battlefield are they connected to City Hall? Is it under City Hall's domain now? Or is it a private entity?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I will have to look into that. I'll make a note and get back to you, Councillor. That
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure. It's not directly underneath the staff or council, but I believe there is an affiliation, but I can confirm what that is.
Because in the minutes, it just talked about a base funding of 20,000 for a funding of 35,000 for to do with the website, I believe. Is that what I'm reading? I'm understanding that had to do with supporting the website, the Blues on the Battlefield. Sorry, Blues on the Battlefield website.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, Councillor, I can't answer that off the top of my head.
My understanding is the website was $100. That was the ask, and
Yeah, I was reading about the funding.
And Curtis, I thought that
I'm having computer issues, so I don't have both computers in
Yeah.
front of me, but I could have read it to you. But it just talks about funding for, and I assumed it was for the Blues on the Battlefield. And Curtis, you actually recommended it, so I'm just yeah, I just needed some more clarification on that before I accept the March 11th meeting minutes. Yeah, thank you. If you any more information you could provide would be appreciated. And one last question: was any of the money spent since Canada Day activities, festivities were canceled? Was any of the money in the budget for Canada Day used up or spent? If anybody on staff could answer, I'd appreciate it.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So I believe the report came to council back in June. The money that was approved by council has been allocated, but anything to do with Canada Day has yet to be allocated to any different event.
Okay. Okay, so none was spent for Canada Day, obviously, right?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is my understanding, yes.
Okay, thank you, Curtis.
Councillor Hanley. Councillor Hanley, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think with Councillor Rose, he was, because he didn't have, it was talking about the base fund is $20,000 plus sponsorship and funding for a total of $35,000 for a 3-day weekend. My question in regards to that, is the city looking at being the base funder of $20,000? And I ask that because this was always a for-profit event. Like, I can't see the city sponsoring an event where the monies are then donated to a non-profit organization. I don't believe that's the business that municipalities or corporations such as the city of Thorold to be in. So is that what they're suggesting here, that they want the city to come up with 20,000 if this was to come to fruition, and 15,000 through sponsorships? Do you, Mr. Mayor, to Curtis? Is that the intention of this?
Yes, sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. So I believe what that is, Councillor, is that is the Canada Day funding. Typically, we have $20,000, and I believe the assumption is we get approximately $15,000 from corporate sponsors to assist or offset some of the expenditures to do with Canada Day, which is a 3-day festival in the park. And typically it's under the umbrella of Blues on the Battlefield, I believe is what we're referencing.
Thank you very much.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Statement by councillors. I have Councillor DeRose. Go ahead, you have 3 statements.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, you can go through all 3, one at a time.
Yes, thank you. Number 1, on behalf of Thorold Soccer Club, they asked me to share a message of appreciation and thanks to city staff, Curtis and your crew, and Jeff. The refurbishments and upgrades at Thorold Soccer Club were excellent. They're very happy. They made a little asterisk though. There's some more things that could get done in the next few years, but they appreciate it. And their enrollment, as I was just talking to Gene tonight, is 350 and climbing. So a lot of kids are getting back in a soccer field. Thank you. Thank you to staff. Great job. An update, number 2, an update on Pitfall concerns. I've gotten several calls in the last while, and even a death of another dog due to a pit bull. So we just to let residents know, we continue to get concerns regarding pit bulls, and we're trying to put more, pardon the pun, but more teeth into the regulations. I've had some informative conversations with Kevin Struband at the Humane Society, and he's very informative. And he's also been, from what I've learned from Manoj, he's talked to staff also and had some communication and positive input with staff. So I just want to inform residents that progress is being made. Keep in mind, if you're aware of any pit bulls in your neighborhood, they are, Kevin Struband said, they are to be muzzled, even on their own property. So please report that if you see an unmuzzled pit bull that's on their property, even, they are to be muzzled. So that's something of importance. And finally, the water testing. Thank you to Jeff Holman and Public Works for coordinating the drop-off for rural water testing. And I wanted to use this platform to inform residents they can now take their water samples to Public Works on Beaver Dams Road. And please refer to the drop-off times that are posted on the city website, as they are important. It's time sensitive to get the water tested and it has to be refrigerated. But all this information is posted on the city website. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor DeRose. Okay, we'll move on to consent reports. We have 5 consent reports, 15A, B, C, D, and E. Does anybody want to pull a consent report? Go ahead, Councilor DeRose.
Mr. Mayor, can I pull C and D just to make a couple comments on?
You want to speak on those and then we'll do them together?
Yes, please.
Okay, PWCS 2021-65, and that is, I'll let Jeff Holman. Jeff, are you there? There he is. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I just confirm which report that was, 65?
It's the Wi-Fi in the Battle of Beaver Dams Park. So Councilor DeRose has a few questions, I think, regarding that report. Go ahead, Councilor DeRose.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jeff, I just wanted a clarification. Why is it, I don't know, why is it a necessity to have Wi-Fi there? It says it can have up to 200 users at once. I'm just curious. Most people have their own data on their phones. I'm surprised this is going forward. So I just wanted to get your opinion on it and what your rationale was for supporting this.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excellent question. As we start to look at our parks and play spaces, these are opportunities for the municipality to upgrade their infrastructure, not just sewers and water mains and playground equipment, but also understanding how the community is going to use that facility. Wi-Fi is one of those trends that not only helps provide a service to the community, it also helps to support businesses and other areas that are adjacent. So this is something that's happening across the Niagara region, and this is an opportunity for us with one of our biggest parks in the community. That's the rationale behind it. I can defer the question, some of the details, to Curtis Dray, who's been developing the infrastructure for it.
Go ahead, Curtis.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. So essentially, Jeff's bang on with that. So this is just our opportunity to update the infrastructure in the city of Thorold, sort of get with the trends that are taking place across Ontario and frankly across North America, where free Wi-Fi is becoming a thing. So people will stay longer, hang out longer, enjoy the area, and they don't necessarily have to go anywhere to log into a Wi-Fi network. It's available, and you see it in all the stores now. Tim Hortons, you go to a mall. This is just sort of that continuing trend of not necessarily paying for cellular data anymore, when you can have a seat on the park bench and enjoy it with your family, and you can log into your Wi-Fi and see what's going on in the local community.
Go ahead, Councilor DeRose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Curtis. Thank you. And Jeff, my only concern is, like, we're going to be paying for that through the winter, and is it going to be utilized in the winter? That's one of my concerns. Just the limited amount of time that it will be in use, probably just for the summer months, spring, summer, I would think, but I may be wrong, but thank you.
Any further questions, Councillor DeRose? That's it?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Hanley, you had your hand up? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's the appropriate staff. Okay, this is the initial cost you're starting up. What are we looking at for a yearly expense? First question. Second question. The city actually some time ago was in partnership with a company that wanted to do this, and then they had them remove the capability to doing Wi-Fi from one city park to another through our municipality. Is that the objective here? Are we looking to get our own broadband tower, maybe eventually in the future, like at the Public Works building, where we can send our own Wi-Fi signal from one main source?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So, sorry, I can answer that as far as the cost goes. So in the recommendation number 2, the budget include a cost of $8,064 in monthly fees, and that would be for the year. So it's about $8,000 for the year, a term of 5 years. As far as the network infrastructure goes, that's more of an IT question. I know that our IT department has done a lot of partnerships with NRBM in the past. We currently use them in several of our facilities, and there's potential that we're essentially creating a network across the city. Will we have the ability to take it over in the long term? That would be something that would have to be directed to the IT department.
Okay, no, I asked that because in the report it says 8,064 plus HET to cover monthly costs. So that's for the year, not for the month. Because I was thinking we're going to invest $30,000 and then $8,000 a month for this at the servicing. So that it's because it says to cover the monthly costs, fees. So are we paying $8,064 a month, or are we paying that for a year? Because it doesn't say yearly; it says monthly.
Yes, sorry.
That's my concern. I'm not.
Yeah, through you,
Yes,
Mr. Mayor.
go ahead.
Further in the report, it says the monthly fee is $672 plus HST for a term
Oh,
of
sorry,
60
sorry.
months. So it's in there. Sorry about that. I should have made it more clear up front.
Okay, Councillor Hanley?
Sorry.
Okay. Any further questions?
Yes.
You had another question, Councillor Hanley, or no?
No, I was good with that. That was it. And then he answered the question too in regards to us having our own broadband signal. The only reason I mentioned that because after you're using so much data as we do in electricity, say per se, we can actually buy our own block and we can direct our own tower and we own the signal, like ExploreNet, for example. That's why I was mentioning that.
Okay. Is there any further questions on these reports? Okay, so we're going to take these reports together now. And I got a mover, Councillor Decker, and a seconder, Councillor DeRose. Go ahead, Councillor DeRose. What's up?
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to comment on D.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say it's about the region's endeavor about ticks, and they are bad this year. I've talked to my neighbors all the time about it. So I just wanted to say I wholeheartedly support the region's endeavor and for more resources to fight Lyme disease. I have a neighbor who has it, and it is debilitating, just terrible. So thanks for that. So I just wanted to put a plug in for that to say it's a great endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor DeRose. Okay. Again, I got a mover, Councillor Decker, and a seconder, Councillor DeRose, that council approve the following consent reports, 15A, B, C, D, and E. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Discussion reports. Okay, CAO 2021-06, 16A, and I'll turn this over. Who's giving this report? Ashley, is Ashley there?
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Ashley.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Council, CAO Report 2021-06, approval for a corporate communications position. The recommendation is that council approve the creation and hiring of a dedicated corporate communications position within the administrative department. I'm happy to address any questions that council may have.
Okay, I'll open the floor for questions. Councillor DeRose.
Ashley, who's presently in charge of the city webpage and any social media as of now? Is there anybody that's in charge of that or oversees that besides Matt? I know Matt is involved in that. Is there anybody else, or is that it?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Currently, the elements of this position, or the communications monitoring of social media, is a shared role between multiple departments. The clerk's department has the primary role as it relates to social media, such as our Facebook page, etc. However, every department does manage their portions of the website. The challenges that come with that is that there is inconsistencies in the type of response or messaging, as well as just overall language that is used.
And also, thank you, Ashley. You didn't mention a total cost. I know you said it's going to be in replacement of the 2 half-time staff we didn't hire due to COVID, but is there a cost associated with this, a yearly cost that you could share with us right now?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a total cost at this time. The job is still under development. Once the job description has been completed, it would go through a job evaluation process in order to put it onto our non-union pay grid. We are in the process of it, but there will be no impact to the 2021 budget.
Okay, so just a question, Mr. Mayor. So we're not voting on this tonight. We're just discussing it, correct?
Ashley, can you answer that? I think you're voting on creating that position.
We are voting to create the position. Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I won't support that. I think we keep hiring internal staff. I'd like to see more people on the ground. I won't support this. I don't think it's a necessity at this time. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Neal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I disagree with the other councillor. I get the information from 3 different communities as we speak on what's going on in their particular communities from various aspects. And from my perspective, I think we need somebody to put out our message and anything that is going on in the community. And this is the way to do it, is to have a communications officer in order to do that. So I will vote for it when the proper time comes.
Thank you. I had Councillor Longo. Did you have your hand up for that? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The answer to the question that we don't know what the annual cost will be leads me to want to refer this to the 2022 budget deliberations. We're into July now. I don't think we've gone this far without a communication specialist. I believe we should refer this and have proper numbers put in front of us for 2022.
So is that a motion? Is that a motion for a referral?
Referral to budget, please.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hanley, there's no debate on a referral, am I correct? Right? Okay, so there's no debate on a referral. We have a motion to refer to 2022 budget. I have a mover, Councillor Longo, and seconder, Councillor Hanley. All those in favor? Opposed? Defeated. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, could we get a recorded vote, please?
Sure we can.
Thank you.
And is the original motion
Mr. Mayor, can we not ask questions before we ask to defer it? Like, I haven't had my questions answered yet. How do I know if I want to defer it or not?
On a refer, well, Councillor Hanley, I got the floor here. On a referral, there's no debate. If it's defeated, then we go back and start to discuss the motion, the existing motion, okay? Are you clear about that, Councilor?
Yeah, I understand that. I don't know if
That's-
he can bring it back up. I don't know if I want to defer it yet because I have questions. So I just feel like it was premature.
Well, that's the motion on the floor, so that's the procedure when there's a referral, and so that's what we're doing.
Okay.
Okay, we asked for a recorded vote. There's no debate. Let's go ahead and have the recorded vote.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, sorry, can I ask a question before you do that? I apologize. Could I ask Councillor Longo for a friendly amendment to wait until we can ask some questions?
Well, you can't because that's the procedure on a referral.
Okay.
Okay. Just following procedure here. Okay, go ahead.
A recorded vote was requested by Councillor Longo to refer the budget to the refer the position to the 2022 budget. Councillor Longo?
Yes.
Councillor Decker?
No.
Councillor Neal?
No.
Councillor Sentence?
No.
Councillor DeRose?
Yes.
Councillor Wilson?
No.
Councillor Hanley?
Yes.
Councillor Kenny?
Councillor Kenny, you're up.
No.
And Mayor Ugolini?
No.
Okay, the vote fails. It's
Okay, so
defeated.
we're back to discuss the original report, correct? Okay, so now the floor is open for more questions on that. Okay, now Councillor Wilson, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Ashley. Ashley, you said that we're not sure of how much this would cost, but you must have an idea of the salary that you would be offering or this position would call for, correct?
For you, Mr. Mayor, the position is in flux to determine whether or not it will be, what level of the position it will be. Will it be a specialist or officer or manager? So we're determining which level is appropriate for what the city's needs are. So that would determine what band the job is more likely to fall in. But in the current 2021 year, there would be no impact to the budget as we do have those two saved positions, half positions, that would more than cover either position, be it a management position or a more of a specialist coordinating position.
So I guess that makes sense, except what I don't agree with is bringing it to council before you have an idea of whether it's going to be a manager or an officer. That's just my take, because we're voting on a position, but we don't know what type of level it is. And don't get me wrong, I'm in 100% support of having this role being filled. I would just like to know, if I'm supporting it, that this council still has some sort of say as what level to be, like to make that decision based on what it's actually going to be, not the we're not sure what it is yet. So would it, like, how long do you think it would take you to, or the group of you, to figure out where that would fall?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I will need to have further discussions with Manoj Delaria to make that final decision. We have been reviewing multiple other job descriptions of positions that the other municipalities hold, as they also have varying levels of positions, the management positions versus the coordination specialist position, to determine what's best for the city. I'm not sure if Manoj can further elaborate on that for
The CAO is going to comment on that. Go ahead, Manoj.
Through Mr. Mayor, the two places that this position can fall, one is at the level of manager of corporate services, corporate communication, or it would be one level down from there for more like a deputy clerk, senior planner position. Those are the two that we can. So if you want to do a rough cost estimate, what is going to cost us based on that, I had some preliminary discussion with our director of finance. So roughly, if you're talking about an annualization cost, will be about $35,000. That's my understanding, having a discussion with her that this is what the differential will be. Thank you.
Sorry, Manoj, you said $25,000 annually?
35.
35.
No. No way. No
Or-
way.
No,
Not a
no,
chance.
because, well, let
Not
me
a chance.
clarify.
I have the floor, Counselor Hanley, please.
That's right. So
Sorry, so I just want to understand, so $35,000 for an entire year for a below manager position?
If we go with the manager position, I think it's $35,000 that we have to top up based on what we currently have with us.
I see.
my understanding,
Okay.
correct me if I'm wrong, is the savings from the two half positions and then the increase in that salary, that's where the 35 is, okay? So the savings in the two positions would cover the majority of the cost, but there would still be some not covered. Am I right or wrong when you say that?
That's correct.
That's what I understand.
Okay. So the position is more than 35,000, but that's a difference that wouldn't be covered in next year.
Okay, can I make a motion, Mr. Mayor?
You can make an amendment to that. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I don't want to defer it to next year's budget, but I would like to defer it until they know what they want to hire.
So
I would like Manoj and Ashley or whomever needs to figure out what level, and I would suggest it shouldn't be a manager, because the way I see it, a manager of what? There's nobody else in that department. I don't think that's an appropriate
how would we do that?
spending of our citizens' money. That would be my suggestion, but I believe that they should actually come back with a plan as to what they're hiring for exactly and what that job description is before this council votes on it.
So the amendment would be to send it back. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll work through the clerk. You didn't want to defer it to budget. You want to send it back and then to bring a report and tell us exactly how much it's going to cost and what level that position's going to be before we vote on it. Am I correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so that would be the amendment to send it back and to have staff come back with a wholesome report on what the position would be and the cost. If you want to add that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so.
No, that's what I was saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, so that's, do I have a seconder for that? Counselor Sentence. Okay, speakers to that. Go ahead, Counselor Ham.
I would agree with that. I can't see us going out and agreeing to something. We put ourselves in that position before of agreeing to spending monies before we know the actual true costs. And, I would have supported Councillor Longo's motion as I did, but I will accept the amendment because we have to look down the road that, we got lots of money that we need to spend in that Canada Games building. That stuff, we have to take that in consideration too. We got $400,000 for gymnasium space we have to rent out with no clients. So just one mention of what expenditures we look down the road for.
Okay, Counselor Hanley, I got Counselor Kenny.
Yeah, I agree with some of what Councillor Longo, Hanley, and Wilson have said. I think we need this position. My only concern is, as soon as you attach manager to anything, and this person isn't managing anybody except the internet, I think it should be a unionized position. It'll be a lower paying rate than a manager. We don't need a manager. We need somebody hands-on, take care of the social media for the city, because we really need this position. And bring back the salary, and I will support it if the pay scale is proper. But I don't like the word manager in there. That gives me it makes me feel that we're going to pay more than we should.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Sentence.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I wanted some time to discuss it. I didn't know the rule with the referral. So I do agree with what Councillor Longo and Councillor Wilson are saying, but I think this position is very important. And I don't think, waiting until the middle of the next year or budget or anything like that. So I agree with waiting and getting the report that they want. And I'll support it from there, but I really do believe we need this position. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Sentence. Counselor DeRose.
I'll agree with Councillor Wilson. She made some great points. I don't see how we can vote on something when you don't know the costs. That boggles my mind. I don't think it's that urgent a position, but that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
But I will support Councillor Wilson. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. So I had a mover, was Councillor Wilson, and who was the seconder? Councillor Sentence on that. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Now, do we have to vote on the whole thing? Yeah. Referred. Okay, so that's what we'll do, and we'll wait back a wholesome report on that. Okay, PWCS 2021-54. I have a mover, Councillor DeRose, and a seconder, Councillor Longo, and I'll turn this over to Director of Public Works and Community Services, Jeff Holman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is that, one, that council approve the budget reallocation of $24,194.70 from the water reserve and $461,463.05 from the capital transportation asset reserve to the Chapel Street South water main replacement and road reconstruction project. Two, that the contract for Chapel Street South water main replacement and road reconstruction project be awarded to Vic Vatrid Contracting Limited at a tender price of $820,558.50, excluding HST. And three, that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the necessary agreements and contracts. Thank you.
Okay, that's, any questions for our director? Go ahead, Councillor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple questions for the residents in the area. When would we expect the project to start, and how long do we anticipate it would take?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, we expect the project to start within the next 4 to 5 weeks. We'll be arranging a pre-construction meeting shortly to start, and then the project will be completed before the end of the fall. So we're looking at probably a 4 to 6 week construction period.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Wilson, go ahead.
I just have a comment. I'm in support of this, but I just would like to have a friendly reminder to the rest of council that when it comes to time for budget, it seems like we're always robbing from Peter to pay Paul, stealing from this reserve to fill up the other and solve this problem. And eventually, if we don't put some tax dollars towards filling up these reserves so we can actually replace what's breaking in this city and get caught up on that slowly each year, we're gonna run out of reserves to steal from. So it's just my comment that I hope that everybody remembers we're taking basically $500,000 out of the capital transportation asset to fix a water main, which we're gonna do, obviously, that makes sense. But at some point we have to allocate tax dollars, additional tax dollars, to actually fill these reserves back up so we can fix things without stealing from other portions and run out eventually. So just my comment.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
I think Councillor Kenny wanted to talk about that before the vote.
Oh, I didn't see him. Sorry, Councillor Kenny. Go ahead.
I have one question. The people that have been chosen to do the job, have they done work in the city previously?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, they did. They did the Stewart Street replacement a couple of years ago.
The what?
Stewart Street.
Stewart Street, Councillor Kenny.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. PWCS 2021-56. I have a mover, Councillor Decker, and a seconder, Councillor Neal, and I'll turn this over again to our Director of Public Works and Community Services, Jeff Holman.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation for this report is that Council approve the installation of an automatic door timer on the mausoleum in Lakeview Cemetery in the amount of $3,474 plus HST, awarded to the current service provider, AccuLock and Security. And two, that council approve the purchase of additional network hardware in the amount of $950 plus HST. And three, that purchases be approved to be, the purchases be approved and funded from the Mausoleum General Reserve. Thank you.
Okay, is there any speakers to that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed?
Mr. Mayor, I think Mr. Kenny had his hand up, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councillor Kenny. You're so dark over there, I can't even see. If you got lights you can put on?
I didn't pay my hydro bill, sorry. I've been wondering if we can add something to this. I'd like to do can we do or do I have to make a motion that we get a price for the main gates too? We've recently had some damage in the cemetery. And there's automation there that we could lock the gates at the cemetery now. So would that be a separate motion after this, or can I include it in this, or?
Well, this is a separate report and costing, so
Okay.
it's separate. And something
I
like
agree.
that,
I'd like to pass this report, and then can I ask to get a report on the main gates, a price?
I think you're gonna have to bring that next meeting, Councillor. You can.
Okay.
Okay.
Rules are the rules, okay.
Am I correct? Yes. I think those gates are locked every night anyways, Councillor Kenny, just so you're aware. The gates aren't left open, am I correct?
No, they're not locked every night, they're left open every night.
Are they left open, Jeff?
Yeah, I'll let Curtis explain what's happened over the past 2 years.
Yeah, because they never used to be. That's why I'm asking that question. That's news to me. So I'll let Jeff, go ahead, Curtis.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, the gates of the cemetery have been left open for about the last two and a half years, 2 to 2.5 years.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to appropriate staff, Jeff or Curtis. Do we have cameras there? Just in case, I hadn't heard about the vandalism, but that concerns me, especially, special place like that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there is a security system which includes cameras at the cemetery, yes.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Sentence.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so is it a notice of motion I'll have to put in? I think it's a great idea if we're gonna do the doors to do everything to automate the gates. So is that what Councillor Kenny will be doing? Putting it through a notice of motion for next meeting?
I'll ask the clerk. No, I think just in a statement by councillors. So, no, statement by councillors ask for a staff report.
Thank you.
Okay. Because you want to report back and see what the costing is and whatever, recommendations from staff. Okay. Anyone else to speak to this report? Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
I just asked, do we have city staff doing it? I know we were looking at contractors before on the weekends. I know in the reports, like, we're looking at putting in the camera, but presently we use outside sources or we open up the gates ourselves. I'm just looking at, because if you're going to have a report come back to council as to automatic gates, will the costing be in there, what it's actually costing us now to do it manually? That's my point, regardless who's doing it.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we can include the cost of our current process in the evaluation of an electronic automatic gate.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if it's helpful, I noticed in the mayor's report, you made note of the funding for the cemetery services delivery review. We can look at security and how best to manage that situation as part of that exercise. And we can bring back a report and some cost estimates as part of that process.
Okay, so then that would take care of Councillor Kenny's concerns. Can we do it under all that auspice? You're saying we can do that there? Okay, are you good with that, Councillor Kenny? Okay. Any further questions on this report? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. PWCS 2021-58, mover Counselor Hanley, seconder Counselor Sentence, and I'll turn this over to our Director of Public Works and Community Services.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is that council approve funding of $50,000 plus HST from the encumbrance reserve for the 13 for 13 festival being held Tuesday, August 9th, 2022 in Thorold. And two, that council approve corporate and or private donations and fundraising activities in accordance with policy 100-18 to contribute to the expenses of the festival, offsetting the budget commitment. Thank you.
Okay, questions to Jeff? Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
For you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not going to support this. I do support number 2 of your recommendations to try to get private money. I don't think taxpayers should be paying $50 for a one-night party. A headline band, $10,000. I'm sure there's some local bands in Thorold that would do it, because I know it's going to pass anyway, because my voice is not going to be heard by my fellow councilors. And if you're going to do it, there's ways to cut that number of 50,000 big time. There's Thorold bands that would probably play there for next to nothing. But this is my opinion. I think we're straight from our mandate to use taxes for the needs of the community, the necessities, not parties that are. I don't know. I don't agree with this at all. I will not support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor DeRose. Anyone else? Councillor Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things in their costing out and doing things. I just noticed that transportation isn't one of them. Moving people from, say, Brock University down to the venue. So I think that should be looked at. And I think. Is there an actual committee set up for this?
I think this is being, is this being done under the Special Events Committee? Curtis, if you want to speak on that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, currently, yes, it is being done under the Special Events Committee.
Okay, just maybe a comment from what Councillor DeRose just mentioned is that I think the recommendation number 2 could include what Councillor DeRose would like to see happen is that the committee look at finding bans or whatever else might happen over the next year regarding getting the funding. And I don't mind putting $50,000 in as a sort of a startup cost, less all the donations, whether it's private or corporate, and whatever else we can muster from the community in order to offset the cost of $50,000. I presume that's what that means. Could I just add in the recommendation that we look for other sources of income from whatever sources we can?
What would you like to add? What source of income you got? Corporate?
Well, I don't like to be specific. I like to ask the committee, if it's a special events committee that's looking after this, and going out and looking at, for instance, what Councillor DeRose mentioned, bans, but there is other costs involved and things that might be able to be gotten. So I don't know how to word it, but I think it should be worded in there that should be looking at other ways of offsetting the costs, or maybe just say in there and other ways of offsetting the cost.
Can we add that? Okay, we'll add that amendment. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Sentence. Okay. And is that going under number 1 or number 2? That'll be number 3? Okay, that'll be number 3, Councillor Neal, to look at.
Thank you.
Okay. So can you read that out, and then we'll deal with the amendment first.
Sure, through the mayor to members of council. So it would be that council requests that staff look for other funding sources to help offset the costs for that particular.
For the event.
For the event.
Okay, I had Councillor Decker. Did you want to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I sit on the Special Events Committee, and I'm not sure if all council's familiar that we have been Manitoba is our province that we will be celebrating when the Canada Summer Games comes. So it's not that we're not looking at local bands. Everything is being looked at. We're trying to incorporate music from Manitoba, bands that can replicate perhaps Burton Cummings and the Who, stuff like that. So this stuff is being looked at. So I just wanted to assure you that we do have somebody that sits on the Special Events Committee whose husband happens to be in a band, and there's other bands that perhaps we're looking at. So it's not that we're not looking at this stuff, we are. So this is just to approve the funding for the preparation, as it does take a lot of preparation to get this event underway. And keep in mind that it is going to bring a lot of people into the city of Thorold, and it's going to create a lot of positive revenue for all our businesses in town. So this is a good thing that's going to happen. So I hope that you guys will support this.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Hanley. I can't, Councillor, there you go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some items I can support, some I can. Overall, I really can't support the initiative either. This should be a region initiative, a provincial initiative. The monies that the taxpayers and citizens of Thorold are going to be investing in this project are astronomical and that stuff. We've already put our foot forward as a municipality. The region, I know, has had some expenditures, but we need to control spending in that stuff. And I know it's a Canada Games, and sure, we want people to come downtown and everything, but there's some valid points here. There's 15,000 in bands alone. It's a $60,000 cost, not 50,000 to the taxpayers. And we're neglecting a lot of things in our own municipality that could use that type of funding. So initially, this is something I'm all for the Canada Games, but I can't support this.
Thank you. Who's next? Go ahead, Councillor Long.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to staff member, does a staff member have an estimate on what we could expect the community to donate? We're going to approve 50,000. What do we expect the community to come up with?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So essentially, that's exactly why we're trying to get this approved now, so that it gives us a year to essentially look at options for offsetting the expense of this $50,000. It gives us that much more lead time to work out partnerships, reach out to people, and develop a strategy around offsetting these costs. So typically for a Canada Day, for example, we get between $15,000 and $20,000. If that gives you an idea. So we're hopeful that we can do that and possibly more.
Okay, thanks for that answer. I kind of agree with what Councillor Hanley said. I support the Canada Games coming here, and Thorold's made a big commitment already to the Canada Games facility. This just kind of reminds me of when we had a hockey event in Thorold, and it cost us $50,000 or $60,000, and it came directly from the taxpayer. So I certainly do hope that staff can generate some interest from local business and get this number offset greatly. That would be my only comment.
Thank you, Councillor Longo. Is there anyone else to speak on this? Councillor Kenny, did you have your hand up? No? Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Wilson.
I guess I'll just say something. I'm excited about the Canada Games coming here. I think it's going to be great for our local businesses, just as Councillor Decker said. The facility we invested in isn't just for this one day, it's for our community for a long period of time. But I just can't imagine the Canada Games coming to our city and us not celebrating it. To me, that's crazy. And I like what Curtis said about what we spend on Canada Day on an annual basis. So I know sometimes I look at all numbers that come before us in council, and I'm like, oh my goodness, because I wouldn't spend $50,000 on a party at my house, clearly, but I'm not having the Canada Games either. So I really do hope that, again, to echo what Councillor Longo said, that staff can find some other ways. And I'm sure local businesses would want to be able to sponsor and take part in that, right? And maybe help them drive some of these people at the event to their business to spend money, right? So, but I am in support of it because I think it's great. I'm excited about it. I think our community is very excited about it. Everyone I talk to is, and I can't imagine not taking part of it and having our one night of celebration. So that's all.
Thank you. Any further questions? Go ahead, Councillor Kenny.
Curtis mentioned we usually raise about $20,000 on Canada Day for the bands there and what have you. Are you going to recommend next year for the Canada Day celebrations in July that we go ahead with those and the celebration in August, or you haven't got that far yet?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we haven't started the budget process as of yet for that part of 2022. So again, we'll have to strategize on that and get back to you on that.
I will say that the province is putting out a lot of money next year for festivals and events. Not so much a one-day thing. I'm looking more on the other one. So we have to be step up to the plate because they'll be accepting grant applications for those type of events. In fact, they might be now or very shortly. So I think there's an opportunity for us there, more so on the Canada Day side. I'm not so sure about this, but I believe the community will step up and be supportive from the business perspective. But that's the work we have to do, and that's the legwork. And I'm more than willing to work with our special events committee to do what we can do to make it happen. Anyone else? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. PWCS 2021-64. Mover council. Where is it? Make sure I got this. Is that right? 2021-64. Moved by Councillor Kenny and seconded by Councillor Wilson. And I'll turn that over again to Jeff Holman.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is that the report be received for information purposes. And two, that council approve funding in the amount of $3,229.75 plus HST funded from the municipal land and building reserves for this repair.
Thank you. Any questions on this report? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. PWCS 2021-66, mover Councillor Sentence, seconded Councillor Kenny, and I'll turn this over again to Jeff Holman.
Mr. Mayor, the recommendation is that council appoint staff as outlined in the report as the city's representative on the working and management committees to carry out the responsibilities of the city of Thorold pursuant to the Canada Games Park Consortium and co-tenancy agreement. And two, that staff be directed to provide periodic updates and reports for council's information.
Okay, questions for Mr. Holman? Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff, at the end of your report, it says no budget effects. And our lead, looks like our lead person is going to be our CAO. And but then it also says there's someone to be determined. So have we not determined? Is it going to be the CAO? That's my first question. Because in brackets afterwards it said, or to whoever's designated. So I'm assuming is it going to be the CAO or is it not?
Can I answer that, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. CAO.
Thank you. Yeah. So the way the management committee is set up, that the CEOs for all the other groups, they are the one who are representing. The reason I said that what I have done in other cases, that if I'm going to the meeting, Jeff Holman, who is being nominated, who has been suggested to be a part of the working group, should come along with me so that we have a continuation rather than two different individuals sitting on two different committees. I would like to bring Jeff to all the meetings. Of course, we'll only have one vote, but I would like to bring Jeff to the meetings so that we know that what has been discussed at the operation meeting and we don't get blindsided. and get the full information. And Jeff being present at both the meetings will have the continuation. And the intent is to Jeff to be the representative on the operations committee as well, so that that committee looks after the day-to-day operations of this facility. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Councilor Durand.
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Manoj. That's a great choice. I think Jeff will be a great addition to your expertise. The only thing is, it's still going to cost us something because it's going to take. Do we have a time? How much time this is going to take from your present duties? That's what I'm saying. There is going to be a hidden cost there because it's going to take you away from city work that you're doing. So I just you guys have an idea of what the time commitment's going to be for you guys? Thank you.
From a management committee's perspective, I think, I don't know that the schedule has not been decided. It would be a monthly meeting, my understanding, but the operation committee meeting will be frequent. I think Jeff can speak on that. Thank you.
And just my last comment, question. It sounds like you guys are going to have to make decisions on the go without coming back to council. Is that what I understand from the report? That you guys are going to be making decisions without bringing it back to council? You'll have the authority to do that, correct?
Go ahead to Jeff.
Well, Mr. Mayor, we're still bound by the terms of our procurement policy. So if there's an issue that comes up that's going to require the city's commitment, it's a matter we'll have to bring back to council. But decisions about furniture gets selected, where the signs need to go, those types of decisions, we had to bring every one of those things back to council. I would have probably 30, 40 reports, and a lot of those decisions, I think, can be made knowing the city council, the city of Thorold council's concerns are. So on those major issues that might require some significant investment outside of what we've already talked about, those matters would be brought back to council for their approval.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Holman. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilor Hanlon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just in relation to the time spent by staff, my fear here is that, if there's going to be management meetings, they usually are held weekly, and then there's monthly meetings. We have staff that are already overwhelmed in the division, and a great choice with Jeff Holman. We know that we had, I think it was 16 projects that were backdated from the 2020 budget to the 2021 budget. Now we're going to be overloading them with more work that has to be done, and a lot more responsibility on its plate. And that what's going to happen is they'll be coming back to staff council and asking us to create another position. That's my biggest fear, because it's going to become overwhelming. We're a 1/3 partnership and have like a $90 million investment in this place. We're going to have someone on the tiptoes all the time. We're not on the leeward. It's going to end up a full-time position. I can see it now. That's my biggest concern.
Thank you, Councilor Hanlon. Is there anyone else?
But a great choice.
Go ahead, Councilor Long.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the CAO. I'd just like to follow up on Councilor DeRosa's question about, budgetary status says none. Normally when we do a project, even if it's like road construction, sewer work on Chapel Street, we assign a staff cost to it. Shouldn't we be assigning a staff cost for the work on this project?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we can quantify that impact and then can present it to council. As I said, at this point in time, I'm anticipating a monthly meeting for the management committee, probably for 2 to 3 hours. And I think there will be more frequent meetings with the operations committee, which would involve Director of Public Works time on that. If council requires, we can provide that kind of estimation and then provide it to council. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, so the report's on the board. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. PDS 2021-23, mover Councillor Neal, seconder Councillor Decker, that the Planning and Development Services report, well, no, I'll turn that over to our who's doing this? Paul, are you doing this? To Senior Planner Paul Claessens. Go ahead, Paul. Sorry about that.
No problem. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So through you, Mr. Mayor, this report details staff's recommendation on the draft plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment applications for the subdivision known as Artisan Ridge Phase 3A. The applications are for 29 single detached dwelling lots and a future residential block for additional single detached dwellings. The applications also propose an extension of Palace Street and public parkland. Staff recommend that council approve the applications and that no further public notice be required for minor changes to the proposed bylaw after the public meeting took place.
Okay, is there any questions for Paul? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. PDS 2021-25, mover Councillor Sentence, seconder Councillor Hanley, and again, we got Bryn, you're doing this report. Bryn O'Neill, Senior Planner. Go ahead, Bryn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this report is regarding Phase 15 of Rolling Meadows. It's the plan of subdivision final approval, the execution of the supplementary subdivision agreement. The recommendation is that the report be approved as presented, that the final plan of subdivision for Rolling Meadows Phase 15 be approved. There's also the component that the street name Sapphire Way be approved for this phase as well. And then of course that the bylaw authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute the agreement be approved.
Questions for Bryn? Go ahead, Councillor Kenny.
I read the report, but is this got anything to do with the commercial use and what the residents were concerned? I couldn't find that in there, but I want to make sure that their points of view are taken if this involves this part of the phase.
Go ahead, Brian.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is a separate application. So this has been approved earlier this year, and this is just entering into the agreement to get things started with the development. The commercial component is, I know that went to public meeting in June. That's separate and will come in a different recommendation report later this year.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. I thought you mentioned something about being the final phase. That's all. I didn't hear you right.
Thank you. Okay. Any further questions? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. PDS 2021-27. I have a mover, Councillor Wilson, and a second, Councillor Kenny, and our Director of Planning and Development Services is going to do this one, Paul Moore. Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, members of council. Recommendations contained in this report are that Planning and Development Services Report PDS 2021-27 be received. Number 2, that the Planning and Development Service Report PDS 2021-27 be forwarded to Niagara Region for their consideration. And 3, that staff continue to participate in the review of the new official plan for Niagara Region, and that staff report back to council as necessary. The report also includes comments that were prepared by staff and were submitted to the region last week. They had a deadline of July the 2nd. So those thorough comments are attached as Appendix B to the report. And the report really highlights 4 main areas of concern that we wanted to bring directly to council's attention. And those are growth projections in the land needs methodology, the employment areas that have been identified, the Port Robinson East Special Policy Area land use designation, and the 4th are policies to be included in the local official plan when that update comes around in about a year's time. So at this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Questions for Paul? Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Paul, thank you. Very detailed report. Well done. I just have a question after reading it. Does this plan take any specific powers or control from City Council?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry, Councillor DeRose, you broke up there. I missed your question.
I'm sorry, Paul. Does this plan take any specific powers or control from City Council in our decision making?
To you, Mr. Mayor, no, it doesn't. What the plan does, the region's official plan, it lays the fabric or the framework for how the entire region is going to grow. There are specific policies that the regional official plan have a trickle-down effect that will come into the local official plan, and that's one of the comments that we've made, that we want to have some flexibility around those policies. But no, it doesn't take anything away from council's decision-making process.
Thank you, Paul.
Any further questions? I spoke with Paul today. I sit on Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee at the region, and so I've been following this very closely. I know Councillor Longo sat in on one of the sessions that was run, and I recommend to all of council to follow this closely, and there's more information sessions and public input that will go on over the next year. And it's a very important plan to follow. One of the things I talked to Paul about today is the growth projections on the population side. They're not even close to what I believe we're going to hit. And I voiced that at the regional level. And I know Paul took note of that as well. Those projections are very low, but that's based on where we're at now and where I anticipate we're going to be in the next, and I'm just looking ahead 5-10 years, but that growth plan goes to 2051. So it's, we're looking at the next 30 years. Okay. And our staff's doing a great job, and they will continue to report back, but I recommend everybody follow this official plan process closely. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Notices of motion, I had Councillor Neal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I've got two notices of motion. The first one dealing with the Melsford Park. In consultation with the NPCA representative, one of the two, Mickey DeFruce, he would like to designate the Melsford Park as a wild bird sanctuary and a dark space sanctuary, and also put up an osprey platform. So I'll be bringing a motion forward at the next council meeting to deal with this. The second notice of motion is in regarding to the land on the corner of Davis Road and the Old Stone Road, where the manufacturing process may be put in, and the 5% dedication as far as land is concerned. And I'll be bringing a motion forward regarding what use that 5% can be utilized regarding the Battle of Beaver Dams. And I'll be bringing that forward at the next council meeting also.
And you're talking about the monument at the corner there, correct, Councillor Neal?
The monument at the corner and expanding that to make a park out of it.
Thank you. And I had Councillor Wilson. Did you want to?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to bring a bylaw, a motion forward that's very time sensitive. So I was wanting to ask if we waive the procedural bylaw of the notice of motion.
And what's it?
Do you want me to talk about it first?
Well, give the council what they're waiving. It's on the noise bylaw exemption request. Am I correct?
Yes. So I just want to clarify the bylaw that's under. So I'm sure everybody received the email from Steve Kostick. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that properly. He's the president of the Niagara Region Musician Association, just asking for council's support in helping them kind of recover from COVID shutdowns, which obviously has affected many businesses in our city. And so with the help of Manoj and Joanne, well, mostly them actually, and some other staff members looked into how this is affected in our city with bylaws. So we don't have a particular bylaw about bans on patios, but it just falls under the noise bylaw. So what I wanted to bring forward was for council support to do just exactly what we did last year for the patios for businesses in Thorold, to waive the notice period and to waive the fee for the application, which is $150 collectively, and then ask.
So we'll
both. Sorry.
We'll do the first part then. We have to waive the procedural bylaw for the notice of motion. Am I correct? And we need 2/3. So we need a 2/3 vote to waive the procedure on notice of motion. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. So we can move forward. And now, do you want to go on again?
Perfect. So I can talk again. I don't know.
Okay. So now we bring that motion forward. Okay. So I'll now bring this, turn it again over to Councillor Wilson. Go ahead, Councillor Wilson.
Yes. So the reason that I thought it was important to bring it forward is just because musicians, obviously restaurants, many businesses in our community have really suffered through these shutdowns, and this is a safe way to bring people together and maybe allow them to do something different that they would normally do. Now, in speaking with Manoj, we would ask that Joanne and I guess it would be Jason send sorry, that was a weird noise. CBO, thank you. I wanted to get the acronym right. Who would vet the application. So they would still do an application, and they're working actually on an online application. It would just speed that up so that they wouldn't have to wait a 2-week period and go through that whole process, just the same as we did for the patio submissions for last year.
Okay, so do you want to do, should I read this? You have.
Oh, sorry, I will read it.
Yeah, you need to read it now. So.
Oh, I apologize. Okay, so that council waives section 2.8 and 2.1.3 of noise bylaw 34-2014 to accept applications for noise bylaw exemptions to permit live music outdoors for the period of July 7th, 2021 to September 30th, 2021, and that the notice and waiting period be waived by the noise bylaw exemption application for the period July 7th, 2021 to September 30th, 2021, and that the discretion be provided to the CBO and the city clerk to approve such requests, and that the application permit and inspection fees be waived for exemptions applied between July 7th, 2021 and September 30th, 2021.
Okay, so you want to bring that forward? Do you have a seconder? Councillor Decker. Okay, speakers to that. Go ahead, Councillor Thorold.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I guess this would be to staff. Does this, like what Councillor Wilson's saying, does this also affect that they can go past 11 in certain venues? Because I don't know if, I think everybody got the email that I got. I've been talking to her. She's one of my distant neighbors, and she's been having many issues with music being played after 11. So even though they're supposed to stop at 11, they're going after. So is this also affect that? Maybe it's to Councillor Wilson or to staff. Is that what you're asking also, is to go past the 11 o'clock noise bylaw time limit?
My understanding, I'll let the city clerk answer this, is no, that would not be the case, but go ahead.
Through the mayor to members of council, no, it's just for that particular section with regards to the notice of application and appeals period. So it would just be for the permit period as opposed to not extending it past the required timelines.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it's to shorten up. It's to shorten
Mr.
up the
Mayor,
process.
Sorry, this is Jason
Yeah.
speaking. I'm able to join the meeting here, but if I could speak to that.
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
So With regards to the noise permits, they only require a noise permit if they are not or if they don't intend to comply with the noise bylaw. So basically they're asking for an exemption to the noise bylaw, which typically means wanting to extend the hours of the noise. If they're falling within the parameters of the noise bylaw, then they don't need a permit to begin with. So it will be at my and the clerk's discretion, I suppose, to still approve those permits. But I just want to make that clear to council that if these venues are choosing to only perform within the hours permitted by the noise bylaw, they wouldn't need a permit anyway.
Which we have patios doing that right now. Yeah. Is there further questions or clarification? Does that answer your question, Councillor Duro?
It does. I'm just a little concerned about. I might discuss it later further with Jason in regards to the email we received earlier today. I do have concerns because they've been going above and beyond in an agricultural area. They've been going past 11 o'clock, which I don't think is fair to the neighbors. But I'll bring that up with Curtis at another time. But that clarifies it. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
If I could, Mr. Mayor, just ask Councillor Neal a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Councillor Neal, in regards to your motion for the where the monument sits on the Davis Street area on the other side of the tunnel, are you looking to incorporate where the former toll house was in the Bishop Fuller house too, also in that park area? I ask because from an aerial view, you can actually see the outlines of the property still.
Councillor Neal, you're muted.
Yes, Councillor Hanley. Basically, it's that area out to the toll house, over to the Bishop Fuller house, and over to Bill Davis's house, that particular area.
Okay, thank you very much. I fully support it.
Thank you. So he'll be bringing that next meeting. Okay? Councillor Kenny.
Yeah, I've got if it can be included in the report, Councillor Neal, I'm not sure if I understood totally, but he was talking about Melswar Park and Bird Sanctuary and other stuff. I just want to make sure that it doesn't take away the rights of anybody or us later on if we do designate that to this area, if that could be included in the report. I don't totally understand what he's trying to do there, but
He'll be bringing that motion forward next council meeting, and when you could debate it then, Councillor Kenny. But you could.
No, I just asked if it could be included in the report.
Well, it's Councillor Neal. Will you confer with Councillor Kenny prior to?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we'll move on to bylaws. First reading of the bylaws. Mover Councillor Neal and the seconder Councillor Hanley, that leave be given to introduce the following bylaws. Bylaw 2021-64-79. 79-80 and -81, and that the same now be read a first time. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Final reading of the bylaws. 19B, moved by Councillor Neal, seconded by Councillor Hanley, that the bylaws just read a first time be read a second and third time and do pass, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Adjournment, moved by Councillor Sentence and seconded by Councillor Longo, that this meeting is hereby adjourned at 8:19 p.m. And that ends this meeting, and I want to thank everybody for excellent participation and good debate. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. We have another meeting because we don't take a break in the summer. And if there's anything else and any information that comes in the meantime, we'll make sure you get it. So thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. Councillor DeRose, you happy Italy won today? I'm sure you watched the game.
Mr. Mayor, I was sitting on the edge of my seat. I got to tell you, Spain outplayed them, but I thought they were two of the best teams. Great game.
Technically, yes. And I don't know a lot about soccer compared to you, so, you know.
Well, Spain just held possession. That was great. Thanks for commenting on that, Mr. Mayor. We're very proud of the team, and it's going to be a great final with England or Denmark, so it'll be fun.